We have been talking about Padavarnam, Sthanavarnams, its structure, what goes into, you know, the execution of a Varnam, the choreography of a Varnam, some Rachana of a Varnam. And there are many aspects of the Varnam which have distinguished certain gharanas from other gharanas also, because of the way they maybe approach a certain tirmanam, or the way they approach a certain aridi, or the way they approach even a Nadai of the Sahityam, or the Tattumetti. So these are all aspects which sometimes we tend to ignore, and we say just a matter of course. Tattumetti is just, after all, just a link. It's not really something that one needs to. But I think everything is important in a Varnam. It's very important to take care of all the aspects, and these are all aspects that have some amount of rhythm in all of them, and it's up to you at what level you want to keep it, whether you want to make it more complex or you want to keep it as simple as possible. But you must know of the options, of the possibilities of what can be worked out in each of the cases. Now, as far as the aridi goes, many gurus believe that aridi is just a punctuation, to say that the jati is over, just a full stop. So, you just do a little bit and you stop. But today, I think maybe the influence a lot of other styles on Bharatanatyam, particularly Kathak, where virtuosity of the feet, is a lot. So I see long ardis, tom tom tatom tom 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 tatom tom 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 tatom tatom, or something like that, where you go on and on and on, and then you come to the sama. So that's a change in trend. Earlier, most of the Varnams had the same kind of simple, if it was Rupakam, it would just be a simple finishing of Dittai, 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 or something like that, not anything beyond that. But you do see today a trend of longish aridis, which people work. That's a question of choice, whether you want to do it or not. So that's one aspect of NRITTA input in the Varnam, which is outside of the jati or the swara or other things, which of course repeats over and over and over again. So it should be something where you have ease and comfort with. It cannot be something that you struggle through, because that's the point where the musician also joins you. So it should be something where everybody is easy. Make it very complicated, then every time to come there becomes a test. After a big jati, you are coming back and you are still kind of, if that is also complicated, it does become a little difficult for the dancer to manage it. So you have to realize that that's one aspect. Then when we used to do the Varnam, of course it was a very reposeful, we had a lot of time. So the Sarpanadai was done for each of the Kandigai, each of the Pallavi, Anupallavi, and each time you had a Sarpanadai. Earlier, of course, the Sarpanadais used to be simple, plain walks, or at best Usi walks. But the walks were very stylized, and it used to add to the presentation, overall presentation, the stylized approach to presenting the Varnam. Then my guru started putting a test in that also. When they find that you are interested in laya or in tala, they say, why can't you do it a little more complicated? Do a few nadais also in that. So started doing nadais also in the walks. So these are possible options that you can explore when you do a Varnam. And of course you come to the Tattumetti. The Tattumetti has lot of possibilities, because depends on, again, on the caliber and the capacity of the dancer. How much of rhythm does she want to involve in, and then plan. We've done Varnams where we've never repeated any of the Tattumetti in the first half at all. Each has been done in a different way, or to make it somewhat after the Abhinaya, when you come into Tattumetti, to give it a connection only. So you just use Chatusram and kind of wind it up. So there are many ways of looking at it, how you want, or it could even depend on your own mood, how you want on that particular day to kind of treat the Varnam, and then keep options with you, and you do as you want to do. So, but one must be aware of all this is possible, and that one has to invest in each one of them. It's not just mandatory to do just the same thing over and over again. You can definitely try varieties in all this. Do you have a question, Sneha?
Yes, Akka. What is the real purpose of doing a Tattumetti?
It's just challenging yourself, challenging yourself. Of course, first is to show that that the same line can be approached in different laya sequences, instead of just doing Swami or Swami Vara or Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara. You can do Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami Vara. It does create variety in the way you approach it. Or Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami. Any of these varieties you can do, and it still can create variety. And also, as I said, challenge you. Instead of just doing classroom dancing, again it depends on you. If you want that comfort zone, just to do it as a matter of course, to mark the finishing of the first line and move on to the second line, that's also fine. But the possibility you should be aware of, that it can be attempted in another way. Now the Nadai, for example, if you do Swa, straight, simple, but again the lilt and the walk has to be very enticing there. It requires that extra, something has to be added. Otherwise, what's the point of doing the walk? No, it's not just to mark the thing. And then after that you do the Tattumetti also. So the walk has to be distinctly different from, the sections have to be marked differently. So try out to Sarpa Nadai. One of you can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Swami. 1, 2, 3, 4. Swa. Now we used to start with maybe a jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami Vara Cholladi. This would be a very simple one. Supposing you did an Usi walk. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, then no jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami Vara Cholladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami Vara Cholladi. That can be Usi and this can be Samam. That can be Samam and this can be Usi. Or you can even jump in between to mark the fours. So it goes Swami Vara Sulladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami. So this is the another variety. Or if you want to do a Takkita, that's also possible. Supposing you start with the Chatusram and then move on to a Tisram.
In the walk or
In the walk. But it has to match the song. That's the thing. Swami Vara Sulladi Sakhiye Kumara Swami. But it has to have that ease of the walk. Shouldn't struggle through it.
or it's holding you back, not letting you.
Correct. Then there's no point. You may as well do it in the Tattumetti instead. Swami Vara Sulladi Sakhiye Kumara. So many possibilities. Sakhiye Kumara Swami. So all this is something which one needs to be understanding and kind of doing it as and when one requires, depending on what is the import and what is it that you want to convey through the through that particular Varnam that you have chosen to do. Now, for example, in the Purikalani Varnam in the second half, we had this Pannama, one of the Sahityams. Mayilari ingu varayannama Yematrama inda mannum vinnum Yeno Shuraludadi kannurangadu Kathirpenadi. Varnama, the beautiful peacock, he rides on that. Pannama Mayileri Ingu Vara. Is he going to come here or he is just fooling me? What is it? So this particular line we had taken and we had done it almost like a Panchanadai. 2 Sankirnams, 2 Mishrams. And then we had done 2 Kandams. Chatusrams. When we do it, we'll realize. Vannama Mayileri Ingu Varayannama Yematrama Inda Mannum Vinnum Yeno Shuraludadi Kannum Burangadu Kathirpenadi. So it sat very well somehow. So we thought it would be nice to do it as a, one of you do it with the hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. First do the hand and then do the Tattumetti. Vannama Mayileri Ingu Varayannama Yematrama Inda Mannum Vinnum Yeno Shuraludadi Kannum Burangadu Kathirpenadi. Vannama Mayileri Ingu Varayannama Yematrama Inda Mannum Vinnum Yeno Shuraludadi Kannum Burangadu Kathirpenadi. Vannama Mayileri Ingu Varayannama Yematrama Inda Mannum Vinnum Yeno Shuraludadi Kannum Burangadu Kathirpenadi. Solladi Manam Kallodi. So also Sneha, you asked what is the purpose of the Tattumetti. As she was doing it, I was just thinking about it. See, Abhinaya is always seen very as a separate section, and here you are expected to emote keeping time. So this is a very special section where which doesn't happen in the rest of the entire Margam. Unless you introduce some of it in a Kirtanam or something else, this technique of doing Abhinaya to a certain time cycle or a certain keeping time never happens. So it's something that you're also training the body to do, you know, to dissociate this from this. This is independently keeping time, and this is doing exactly what it does in the Abhinaya section. So I think that de-link, yet link, you know, that also is obviously a different thing that you're trying out here, which has not been tried out in any of the other sections. So that's, I think, an important aspect of the Tattumetti that we do in the Varnam.
Also, maybe it can be seen as a bridge from Abhinay moving into
The pure dance.
Pure dance.
That's right. Something that brings together instead of an absolute sudden break. Good bridge between the two sections. Any other question on this? Did you have a problem when the Tattumetti became very complex?
It requires a lot of
Practice.
Two kinds of brains are working at the same time. It almost feels like that.
Maybe that's what the intention,
Yeah.
to make you very alert and not to sit back.
And plus, when we are doing Abhinaya and Tattumetti, so when we become very jerky. So we initially
You need to soften the upper part and keep the lower part very stark.
Yeah. And we tend to cut the hands according to the Nadai,
Which you should not do.
which we'll be doing.
Yeah.
We make it easy for ourselves by that.
By cutting it and sectioning it.
Cut, then next cut.
Yeah.
Initial ways of
Learning it and then smoothening it out. No, but it's a great thing that's the other thing in even while doing Abhinaya in a Varnam. What do you think is the difference of while doing Abhinaya in a Varnam from doing Abhinaya in other pieces maybe?
in a Varnam,
more involved. It's very
you have a specific time frame where you have to communicate an idea. So for instance, if you do Abhinaya Padam, you have the facility of time and poetry, and you can carry on the idea from beginning to end and come back to it. Here, there is a progression in poetry, but because there's such specific punctuations with the jatis, that you have to, that one Abhinaya section, it has to be complete in itself, and the idea has to be that line of poetry has to be fully communicated. So I guess it requires, and yet it has to be deep enough so that the variety of Abhinaya, the variety of themes and multiple ideas or the variety in the idea can be explored at the same time. So
Two things, what as I see it. One is musically it is not supposed to be varied too much. No, Varnam. You are always supposed to follow the format of the initial line, in the sense if there is a mettu for a particular pallavi, you are supposed to follow the pallavi. Within that pallavi, whatever you can, sangadis you can do or variations to do, you are not supposed to totally take off like an Eraval. You are not supposed to do that. Whether it's being done now or not is another idea. But you are not supposed to take away like that. But in a padam, you can even take one line, you can take half a line, you can ad nauseam, you can go on expanding on it musically any which way, and hence the ideascape also changes, the context is given. And here basically the line meaning and is what you have to stick to. You can't really tell stories here, which today it has become. Earlier you had to stick to the lines, the words of the song. You can't really, if it's talking about the greatness of Shiva, you had to talk about the greatness of Shiva with just the hand gestures.
not like an episode.
Not like you show an episode and you go tangentially off somewhere and then come back. It was not allowed earlier. It's really not allowed, not in the Varnam.
That's now
Varnam had almost become the norm, that's it, but we need to know the reference point.
Okay, but why is it that we see not what is done?
Because people don't have enough ideas within that line. Within the line, it's a challenge to say the same line over and over again in different ways. You have to be really very skilled.
And keeping it entertaining people.
You have to keep the attention and still be able to do the same line over, and you need lot of hastas, you need lot of ideas, you need a lot of creativity to stay within the line and express.
And the variation in the moods, that has to be.
So what happens is, the easiest thing is to take a tangent off somewhere, do a full story, and then come back and say, this is it. You know? And also in the Varnams, I feel you need to link the lines. You need to find the connection in the lines. Very often the last line is talking about the greatness of a particular lord, or how popular he is, or how brave he is. But in the end, you've also got to say, that is the man I'm pursuing, or that is the one I am. So hence, please, don't think I'm wasting my time. So we always bring that link in, so that the entire thing is one story. You can't just think them as independent lines. Many times I get the feeling when I see a Varnam that there is no link between those 4 lines. After all, the poet is one.
Yeah.
He's taking one idea forward.
Even coming back to the Tattumetti, when we have done the one line of Abhinaya and then we do the same thing in the Tattumetti, there's no connection sometimes. Like if you were talking to a Sakhi and you had been doing Abhinaya either in this direction or in that direction, suddenly Tattumetti becomes facing front. So you lose that link, because now suddenly that Abhinaya is over, we are doing Tattumetti and we are moving to the next.
They all have to be connected. Whether it is the Sarpanade or it is the Tattumetti, everything needs to be linked. That's when it becomes an whole, organic whole, and the experience is not broken in between and fragmented. So we need to think about how we approach the Varnam very carefully. It has to be seen as one whole entity. It's a love song, then you have to treat it like a love song which is progressing, and each is connected to the other. One can't just independently treat it and do it as Abhinaya passages and keep it. The links have to be found. Any other questions on this? Clear? So next time you work out a Sarpanade or you work out a Tattumetti, either it should be challenging you, or there has to be a sense of purpose for it, or you want to make the Varnam more complicated for yourself, or even if you choose the simplest way of walking, it has to have a statement. It has to have that attractive quality about the walk. So how you execute it is also very equally important, in addition to making it complicated, right? Can we do the namaskar?